share the path that led you to Big Chicken and Craveworthy?
I don't even know how to answer that question. I
In like
spent
2 minutes or less, Josh.
Yeah, I spent over 20 years in consumer packaged goods. I was at all these big companies, Procter and Gamble and Anheuser-Busch and, Reckitt Benckiser and Clorox and whatnot. Most guys' midlife crisis is, a sports car or a mistress. My midlife crisis was shack and fried chicken sandwiches. Actually, tomorrow makes 5 years, 5 years to the day since Shaquille and I got together. We were 2 units when I came in, and now we're close to 50. And a year ago, we merged into Craveworthy Brands, and it's just been an interesting ride.
Talk to me about like what makes you uniquely qualified to do this thing that you had never done before.
It's that question every day, right?
There's no doubt, right? That's what makes you
Yeah.
a great leader.
I think there's a couple things. A lot of people have done a really good job coming over from consumer packaged goods into the restaurant space. I mean, Kevin Hochman at Chili's, he and I were together at Anheuser-Busch, and even though I was very junior in my career when I was at Procter and Gamble, Hochman was there, Brian Nickel was there, Rob Lynch was there, a lot of major restaurant CEOs. And I think there's a couple things CPG guys understand a little differently, right? The first one being the shopper and the consumer are very different, right? And we confuse the two in this industry. The shopper is who you are when the credit card is in your hand, right? What's my reason for buying dinner tonight for my family or going to this restaurant? The consumer is who you are when you're eating the sandwich. And they're often very different people. I have three young boys. They pick 90 something percent of the restaurants that we eat dinner at and
Sure.
lunch and breakfast, right? So only marketing to me doesn't work. Giving me $5 off 20 on DoorDash doesn't work for getting them to say, yeah, buy that for dinner, right? So I think this notion of consumer versus shopper is one thing. The second thing is coming out of the alcohol industry. The alcohol industry is entirely built on franchising, and it's built on the notion of it's finding win-win solutions for the guest, for the franchisee, for the franchisor, and for the supplier. And this notion of four wins every day, I think, was a unique perspective that I bring into the industry because everyone has to win in this thing, especially if you want to have long-term relationships. Since thinking about franchising, you basically have 3 dates with someone and you're married to them for the next 20 years. It's tough,
Right.
right? So you better come at it every day from I'm going to do my best to do right by you, and I hope you're going to do the best to do right by me because that's the only way this is going to work.
What inspired you to join Shaquille? I mean, look, he's a big personality. I used to watch Shaquille play. I'm from Baton Rouge, so I used to watch Shaquille play when I was a kid
Yeah.
before LSU. And so he's all right. He's this very big personality. But like so's Kevin Hart, and things didn't work out particularly well for Hart House. What led you to believe that one, the world needed another chicken concept, and number two, that like whatever Shaquille was working on had the scalability needed to become a national?
I mean, Shaquille and I knew each other for a very long time before I started with him at Big Chicken. His agent and I worked together and stuff at Anheuser-Busch. Shaquille did a little bit of work with us at Anheuser-Busch. So we knew each other ahead of time. I think Hart House was just a little bit before its time, being a vegan restaurant kind of chain or vegetarian restaurant chain. With Shaquille and with Kevin, though, the number one mistake is this notion of people are just going to keep coming because it's a
Sure.
celebrity brand, right? Um, a lot of people tried Big Chicken because of Shaquille. A lot of people tried Hart House because of Kevin. At the
Sure.
end of the day, it's still a restaurant. You're only going to come back if the service is great and the operations are great. And some of our earliest stores, we had that wrong. Our franchisees' view was, look, if I have a great chicken sandwich and I have Shaq, I should be good. And it's, well, no, a million things can go wrong. You have a 20-minute ticket time. You forget sauces in the bag. You forget a milkshake, right? Like you're giving the guest a lot of reasons to say no. Their only reason to say yes can't be Shaquille, right? We say all the time, and we say it with all the love in our heart. I say it directly to Shaquille's face. He's the biggest blessing and the biggest curse in the company, right? And I love the man, so don't take that the wrong way. It's just we have to pretend like he's not a part of the brand to make sure that our operations are excellent. because our guests demand that our operations be excellent.
And then what do you think is the unique selling proposition? Like you look at Big Chicken in a world full of chicken, and look, Shaquille's very compelling. So is the Colonel, right? Why do you think that people choose Big Chicken? Like
Yeah,
if
look,
they're
I think
if
at the
they're
end of the
earning
day,
trial, go ahead.
it,
Go ahead.
it's we drive big fun. We drive big fun in the food that we have. I don't know of another chicken chain of all the ones you could think of. You could throw out however many you want. Name one that puts mac and cheese and onion rings on a sandwich. Name one that puts Mexican street corn onto a sandwich. Name one where milkshakes are more something you would get out of an ice cream parlor versus a straight shake, right? Name one where there's big, goofy graphics on the wall. I mean, we created fun food, a fun experience, all of it focused in just big love because that's what Shaquille is all about. Name another restaurant chain where you could draw on a postcard about the dream of putting a fried chicken restaurant in outer space and Blue Origin send all of those postcards up into outer space and then return them to you, return from space, right? We're doing really fun, interesting things. And that combined with the fact that Shaquille is the best trial mechanism on earth, it gives us a very unique point of view. It gives us a very unique reason to be that no one else can replicate easily. All of it's for naught if we're not operating properly, right? So we've got to be focused every single day on the four walls, getting operations right, ensuring that we're executing all the things flawlessly, understanding the whipped cream and cherry on top that we get to put on top is pretty damn great.
I think that I think the consumers want to feel adventurous. I think that's why like they sell so many Red Bulls, but they don't sell a lot of those squirrel suits that people use for base jumping, right? People just want to feel adventurous. What I think they want more than anything is the familiar presented in an unfamiliar way. And so when you look at your menu, I think you guys have done a really good job of presenting things that people already love in like a new and innovative way. That can go sideways, like a fish sauce margarita.
We have
Right? Do you
not done
think,
that yet.
right? Nor should you.
Yeah.
But like looking at that as a muse, how do you make sure that like when you're running LTOs or when you're baking out new additions to the menu, that it just extends that through line where it feels adventurous, but it's also very safe for the consumer?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of product testing in those things. We're not doing things like fish sauce margaritas, although we did do a Nashville hot milkshake as an April Fool's joke 3 years ago. And then the number one complaint that I dealt with for the next 90 days was why doesn't it actually exist? So maybe there is some of that. Maybe a fish sauce margarita would work. I don't know, right? But at the end of the day, we're not doing anything so crazy that the guests can't get their arms around it, right? Putting mac and cheese on a chicken sandwich. They're eating a chicken sandwich. They're eating mac and cheese. They may be putting cheese on the sandwich. It's somewhere else. It's to your point. It's just a logically fun, goofy extension of behaviors that are already being shown, right? Putting cheese curds, fried cheese curds on a sandwich versus a slice of cheese. That's not a huge jump for somebody to get to, but they've never seen it before. It's funny. I quote weird references sometimes, and one of my favorite is the first line in the TV show Narcos Mexico. Of all the weird things to quote, right? And the line is, looking back on it, it's crazy to think nobody had ever done this before, but no one
Sure.
ever had, right? And yeah, it's in a very different context than this, but it still holds true, right? Why wouldn't you put fried cheese curds onto a chicken sandwich? Why wouldn't you put mac and cheese onto a chicken sandwich? Why wouldn't you experiment with things that people haven't experimented before, but all of it sounds good together? And that's kind of the big fun we talk about as part of Big Chicken. And
Talk to me
that's quite
about
honestly our ethos in all of our brands.
Talk to me about frequency. So I owned a fried chicken joint for years, and we were able to scale it up. The biggest hurdle for us was frequency, right? Because fried chicken is not a logical decision, right? It's rooted in emotion. Nobody's like, I'm trying to make great life choices. Fried chicken seems like the move.
Yeah, Andy
Um,
Cathy would disagree with you on this one, I think.
oh,
You know,
I am sure. But I do think that it is it is difficult to get people to do something indulgent programmatically with frequency. What is your approach to frequency
I
through
mean,
big
at
chicken?
the end of the day, we need to be constantly fighting every day for it through our loyalty app, through email signups, and making sure that we're in people's faces all the time. Through LTOs, and we don't get crazy with LTOs. We normally have one sandwich and one milkshake as LTOs, but we want it to be the sort of thing where when you look at it, you're like, what the hell is that? Right? Like right now, we're doing a frosted animal cookie milkshake. Sort of
I put
cool.
that in my
Looks great.
mouth. I'm not mad at that. No, that sounds
Yeah.
good. That sounds like
So,
things I would like put together in a cup.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, maybe that brings you in again, right? It's just being excellent, quite honestly, and making sure that we are, for a long time, and I've said it in numerous interviews. Like it used to drive me nuts that we could not figure out how to accurately get sauce in the bag. Now we have like redundancy or after redundancy on how to make sure sauce is in the bag. Craveworthy added a lot of processing on that, but it's like those little things are derailers, right? Those little things are the things that make people say, well, maybe next time I go to a different fried chicken place, because most people are eating fried chicken once or twice a week in some capacity. It's way more than people think, right? Between Panda Express and chicken wings and a chicken sandwich and chicken tenders, and I mean, all comes back to chicken, right?
Sure.
They're eating it, once a week or once every other week. I don't need to be 26 times a year for you to be a loyal guest. If you're going to eat fried chicken 26 times a year and I could capture 4 of those 26 occasions, your annual value to me is great, right? So it's how do we create new news and how are we a stable, accurate, good choice?
Let's talk about brand. So you're the chief brand officer for Craveworthy Brands,
No, no, chief business officer.
chief business officer, excuse me. Probably because you needed another job because you had too much time on your hands.
I mean, at the end of the day, everyone in the restaurant industry has certain functions they're better at and certain functions they're not great at, right?
Sure.
For me, because of how I grew up, and you referenced it earlier, I'm not the best restaurant operator. I actually, in
Sure.
days of discovery with our franchisees, I would say it, right? Like, I am not a great restaurant operator. I have great restaurant guys around me, but what I'm able to bring to the table are all the other functions, right? So, this chief business officer role, my partner in crime, our CEO, Greg Majewski, is one of the best operators in the business as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed.
He's worried about all that stuff. I'm worried about protecting his backside and doing all of the other stuff for the organization. And it's been working well for us.
What's the other stuff?
Franchise sales, marketing, supply chain, legal, real estate, construction, development, M&A, international, kind of all of those other things that go into a restaurant company that we don't love talking about because it's not the restaurant itself, right? But restaurant companies can't scale without those things. And if there's one thing I've been able to do consistently across my career, it's scale brands. And I'm in a position where I'm able to scale brands and allow our restaurant ops team and our leader to be out on the front line doing what they do, which is bringing the ultimate guest satisfaction to guests.
And so when you look at that role and you look at all of the verticals and all of the opportunities, what are you most excited about in 2026? Like, where do you see the biggest opportunities? Not just for Big Chicken, right? But for Craveworthy in general across all the brands.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I get excited about all of it, and you have to play it together. It's a orchestra, it's not one instrument, right?
Sure.
I'm excited about the ability to grow. I'm excited about the real estate hitting the market right now. I'm excited about having a value engineer menu so your COGS percentage don't go up through innovation. Value engineering from a cost cutting perspective is horrible, right?
It
Value
is.
engineering through innovation is amazing, right? And the ability to work on some of that stuff right now is tremendous. I'm excited that we get phone calls every single week asking us to evaluate new concepts for M&A. It's an orchestra. We get to play the entire thing.
What do you think makes for a valuable brand? When you look at it from the M&A side, like what are you looking for? What are the boxes that you're looking to check to see if this brand is investable or scalable?
Most of the things that we've invested in or that we've bought are brands with tremendous brand value, tremendous brand equity, fandom that's already built in. But somehow the brand either A, lost its way a little bit, maybe it sold to the wrong people and they took liberties with it that they shouldn't have, or B, like the founder had an oops. Like maybe they just expanded into the wrong market and it cost them royally and they need someone to fix that oops. But we love to already be in love with the brand day one. You know, when we bought Gregory's Coffee last July, the first time I ever met Greg Zamfotis, like I was told by Majewski, hey man, play it cool. I know that you're like a Gregory's guy, and this has been your brand for years and years, but like we're trying to do this. You got to play it cool. I took two looks at Greg Zamfotis. He looks just like the logo. I'm like, oh my god, man, I've been a complete fanboy of yours since 2000. And Majewski's like, man, and Zamfotis is like, that actually means something to me, right? We love to get involved with brands that already mean something to us, right? That we want to come in and bring the jersey to a better place. And I talk about Gregory's center of my heart the way I talk about Big Chicken, and that wasn't a brand that I built from the ground up. I just love Gregory's that much, and that makes me really, really proud to show up to work every day.
And then what's the unfair advantage? Like, I understand. And I had this conversation over dinner with Greg 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where he said, what I'm looking to do is invest in brands where I have an unfair advantage, where their gaps are my core competencies, right? Or the core competencies of my company. And it's not money, right? Because like private equity is still investing really heavily in the restaurant sector and eating shit throughout the entire process. So money in and of itself isn't enough. So when you look at Craveworthy, what is the unfair advantage when you guys come in and begin working with these brands?
Well, it's a few things. When you're a standalone brand, as an example, you're going to hire a marketing manager that you're going to pay 100 grand plus to a year, even though you're like 15 units. So when you think about how much money you're actually paying per unit for this marketing director, it's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
We have the ability to have shared services across these things. So we're able to reduce overhead costs because we want one person over X number of stores, Y number of concepts. It's not all tied to one brand. So we're able to find some scale efficiency there. By doing things like our supply chain organization looks at chicken as chicken, not, well, what chicken is going to Big Chicken versus what chicken is going to Genghis Grill. We have scale components that way that allow us to buy at greater quantities, that allow us to minimize potential costs or allow shipping costs to be reduced because more tonnage is coming in on the truck, right? We have the ability to take down a 6,000 or 4,000 square foot box and convert it into 2 or 3 concepts where most people would either need to not buy that box or they would need to figure out a way to take 2,000 feet of it. And the landlord now has to figure out the other 4,000.
Sure.
And they're going to pay a premium for that. So there are very interesting advantages here that we get just by the nature of our portfolio.
I think that, you see it in the franchise space as well. Marketing is still an afterthought, like industry wide. It is the marketing that you see out there is primarily transactional. What's your approach to marketing? What do you think effective marketing looks like in 2026?
We literally just had a meeting on it the other day. I'm a big believer that right now, as an industry, we're messing this thing up a little bit because we've gotten so enamored with the tools that are out there. We've forgotten what it is we're trying to do. And what we need to get focused on is getting back to the root of hospitality. One of my old bosses at the Clorox company, of all places, he used to always talk about how there were 3 crucible moments in the consumer journey: the point of desire, the point of decide, and the point of delight. This industry owns the point of delight. The point of delight is when you take a bite of that sandwich or you take a sip of that coffee and you're like, man, that's great. But that's one of only 3 points, right? And that's why you could probably rattle off 5 to 10 restaurants you've eaten in the last 3 months that you will never go back to or that you
Sure.
haven't been back to, even though you loved it, right? Because the food alone's not enough, right? The point of decide is the other one that we do a fairly good job at, but it's hurting a little. Point of decide is when you're at the register saying, what am I going to buy? Hey, would you like to upsize to a large? Can I add a milkshake to your order? Right? We're not upselling the way that the industry used to as a total industry. But at that point of decide, I'm not going to name names, but a very large coffee chain. I walk into every Thursday morning. I was there this morning. I walk into every Thursday morning because my son has a 6 a.m. goalie lesson. He's a hockey player, and I go to this coffee chain. And I stand at the counter and they stare at me and do not take my order every single Thursday. And finally, I asked, and they were like, all of our KPIs are about going through the drive through or how fast we can do mobile order. There's no way we can measure you when you're just standing at the register until we take your order. So we're told that's our last priority.
My God.
This is a very large chain, right? Think about that from a hospitality standpoint for just a second, right? That goes complete antithesis. So from a marketing standpoint, I now view it as I'm here because the hockey rink is 50 feet away,
Sure.
not because I want to be here, right? And if my son were to leave the program and go to a different hockey team, I will never go back there again. That's not loyalty and that's not hospitality. And then the third and final crucible, which is really the first one, is point of desire. And that for me is the one we need to get better at because, saying, hey, if everybody has $5 off 20 on DoorDash, if everyone's doing reduced delivery fees on DoorDash, like, yeah, as the dad, I'd rather do less delivery fee versus more delivery fee. But you try explaining to a 9-year-old why this is where we're eating. We're eating here because it's $1.99 delivery fee. We're eating here
Sure.
because I get $5. You try doing that and tell me how that goes, right? So we have to drive desire. And I think really understanding what are those 2 to 3 occasions that are actually driving visits, that are actually driving trial and putting more marketing effort against those things because you can't be everything to everyone. If you win these 3 crucible moments together, you're going to hit a home run. So sorry for the long rant, but it's a very easy question, difficult to answer.
How are you doing on time? What is your heart out?
I got like 5 minutes.
All right. I've got 2 more questions for you. So one of the things that you mentioned was occasion. That's how I would define it. I think that the number one question, so I think there are like 3 questions in order to drive new trial. I think the first one is like, does this thing even need to exist, right? Like, does the world actually need another Mexican cantina? More often than not, Josh, the answer is no.
The answer is always no, but that doesn't
You
mean you
know,
can't make yourself indispensable.
absolutely. Number
Yeah.
2, is it for me, right? So if this Mexican cantina should exist, but it's a vegan concept, it's great. It should exist, but it's probably not for me. And then the third question, which is where I think everybody shits the bed, is how does this fit into my life? Assuming this thing should exist in that it's for me, what I'm not seeing, and I believe fundamentally that people want to be told what to do, right? That if they've never engaged with your brand before, they want to know how to do it. So if I'm going to Big Chicken, right, is it best for lunch or is it best for dinner? Am I taking a hot date there to impress them, right? Or am I going out with my buddies? Is this a place I take my kids? What is your approach to utility? Because you brought it up when you mentioned occasion. How are you
Yeah.
guys making it explicit?
It's actually amazing. We just dropped every one of our brands and all of our data into Claude and was like, what occasion should we be focused on based of all of this? And every single brand, there were 3 occasions that were like 90% of sales.
Sure, that's
And,
it.
and in most of our brands, we were not targeting at least 2 of the 3 occasions,
Oh
right?
my God.
Because it goes beyond that. It goes beyond what do I want for lunch? What do I want for dinner? It's what do I want when I'm with a group of friends? I'm going to watch the game. What do I want to be eating? I'm running between meetings. What can I grab quick? And understanding what those occasions are so damn critical. Everyone's like, I want to drive catering sales. Why? Catering what? Are you catering the big game on Super Bowl Sunday, or are you
Right.
catering the office lunch? Or you have to get that granular because if the average person eats out 26 times a month, but by definition, a loyal guest is a super loyal guest is someone who eats once a month, right? I just need to win 1 out of 26 trips. What if I found 2 or 3 where I'm the most logical choice for you?
Sure.
Right? It would be way easier for me if you know that when you have the boys over on Sunday or Saturday to watch the LSU game, given you said you're a Baton Rouge guy,
Right.
when I'm watching the LSU game, this is what I eat. It's way easier for me to win you over multiple times than it would be if I'm just like, yeah, we're a good place for lunch. You have to drive ritual. And in that particular example, other rituals may, like I have restaurants where it's like, whenever I go to this doctor's office, I stop here afterwards. It might be a coffee shop, it might be a lunch spot, but I know I'm going there whenever I go, and they're going to get my business 4 times a year because I go, that ritual and building that type of loyalty is critical.
I got one last question for you.
Oh, I'm being told I need to go like now.
Then go.
What's the last question?
You're good. Oh, no, don't worry about it, man. I got you. We can end here. This is a good place to end. That felt like the end of a conversation. I can make that work.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. I want to be respectful of your time. And I think there'll be plenty of time for us to catch up. You going to NRA, right?
I'll be there. Yeah, let's definitely catch up there.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Have a good one, brother.
Thanks. Bye.